Johnson & Johnson Supply Chain Management, presented by Maureen Piercy. What is supply chain management? In order to define supply chain management, we first need to define what supply chain is. Supply chain is defined as a system of organizations, people, activities, information, and resources involved in moving a product or service from supplier to customer. Now, the definition of supply chain management is the systematic, strategic coordination of the traditional business functions and the tactics around these business functions within a particular company and across businesses within the supply chain for the purpose of improving the long-term performance of the individual companies and the supply chain as a whole. Johnson & Johnson's supply chain. In 1943, the Credo was developed, which is a guide for Johnson & Johnson to follow while conducting business. It states that customers come first, while stockholders come last. Johnson & Johnson has over 120 manufacturing sites, over 500 external contract manufacturers, and over 450 distribution centers around the world. The need for change at Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson's supply chain management is suffering due to many issues, such as manufacturing failures that account for 50% of quality incidents in medical devices. Due to these failures, it has led to many recalls since 2009. McNeil was one of Johnson & Johnson's largest distribution centers that was located in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. But due to numerous issues at the plant, they had to recall millions of products and shut their doors to future manufacturing. With the breakdown in McNeil, Johnson & Johnson lost one of their major distributions, which put a strain on their supply chain system. We've learned a lot of lessons from this, and we're working hard to make sure we get things right, not only at McNeil, but across the company. Mr. Weldon, J&J's previous CEO, stated that due to multiple drug recalls, Johnson & Johnson had to settle out of court for $22.9 million to investors for misleading them in regards to quality control. How to change Johnson & Johnson's supply chain. Johnson & Johnson has thought of moving to what is known as a super plant for manufacturing. Essentially, that's one distribution center that would handle all of the distribution for all of their products. This would allow them to eliminate all of those other locations they have, which would allow them to have a higher quality control because they wouldn't have to keep tabs on each of those plants. Everything would be done under one roof. They've also been working on the Carbon Disclosure Project, which monitors the greenhouse gases and energies used by their suppliers. This keeps suppliers from harming the environment, and they encourage them to use other resources that are less harmful. They've also started to do the Singapore Project, which is a program for college students that works with global supply chain management. The intent of the project is to provide learning experiences that would enable participants to lead the consumer operations global supply chain strategy. Some of these strategies are delivering a reliable supply chain at the lowest price possible while supporting innovation and growth. The team worked on actual problems and developed strategies to solve these issues. And throughout this project, Johnson & Johnson saw the importance of innovation and evolving their supply chain management system.